Hello guys, and welcome back to Joe's Ventures, and today we're doing part 59 of our Jurassic World Evolution 2 mod spotlights, where we take a look at some of the very wonderful mods people have been making and compare them to their real life fossil counterparts. So today, I know this one's been a little bit delayed. I originally was going to have this back in like late September, but I just kind of didn't have the time, so I thought I'd bring it to you guys now and kind of keep up these 4 videos a week thing that I'm trying to do, especially with Far Cry Primal, and I hope you guys are watching that because that's been really fun. So yeah, this time we've got a very interesting group of animals. It's a lot of lagoon animals today, and a couple like animals that have been remastered and things like that for this new update from the Marine Species Pack. Prehistoric Marine Species Pack it's called. But yeah, really excited to get stuck to this one. So we're going to be starting off today. We're going to have Kakara, which was done by JWE2 and NetRaptor. So NetRaptor made it, and JWE2 kind of recoded it and added it for this next update. So let's have a wonderful look at it. So here's a wonderful Kakara. Let's pause it and take a look. I don't know what's going on with that there. That's better. So here's Kakara. Real beautiful animal. And now we'll get a look at you. You look like the nicer one. Kakara, which means dawn shark. So these guys are a genus of Kakara theropods. So they're a close relative of animals like Kakara and Acrocanthosaurus and Giganotosaurus and Mosasaurus and all them. These guys are a bit earlier though. These guys come from the early Cretaceous of the Erlhaas Formation that lived in the Sahara. So probably about Sahara about 112 million years ago. At the time, it was very much a more tropical place than it is now. Well, not tropical, but wetter. Lots more wetlands and things like that compared to obviously how the Sahara is now. There would have been what is considered today the country of Niger. It was discovered in 2000 on an expedition led by the University of Chicago paleontologist Paul Sereno, who's quite famous. And he named, the type and only species of this genus is Eokakara dinops. And it's really only known from a maxilla and a bit of a brow ridge. It's not really known from too much, but its name is from this. So basically, its teeth were shaped like blades, very similar to other Kakara for slicing into prey and things like that. And its brow had a massive band of bone, which really gave it a menacing glare, as you can hopefully see on this rendition here. And in fact, its species name means, which is Dinops, or fierce eyes. So that's kind of where it got its name from. So Dinops basically means the dawn shark with fierce eyes, which is quite interesting there. And this guy wasn't that big compared to a lot of the later Kakarodontosaurs, like Mapasaurus and stuff that were rivaling T-Rex, or even getting longer than T-Rex in most cases. These guys got to about 6 to 8 meters long, or about 19 to 26 feet in length. So a little bit longer than a large male saltwater crocodile is probably the best comparison. A bit smaller than an orca, maybe. But what's really interesting about this guy as well as its ecology, it lived with a lot of very famous dinosaurs. So in the Erlhaas Formation, it lived with animals such as Critops, which is a kind of a bellisaurid, Suchomimus as well, Nigersaurus, everyone's favorite, Oranosaurus as well with the sail, and Ludosaurus, which is a really cool iguanodontid with a long neck, and Elhansasaurus nigerensis, which is another very interesting kind of orthopod. But yeah, really, really cool. Definitely love these guys. So that's another one that we get back in the game, thanks to Trippy. And I wish NetRaptor would come back. NetRaptor always made some wonderful mods. For Jurassic World 1, he made a Jackapeel, which I really hope someone manages to port over here, because I want to talk about Jackapeels so bad. See, I'm going to let you run off and do your thing. So next up, we've got another kind of comeback from Hyper SGYT and Game Videos for Life and all the people involved in that. We've got a land version for the Parasaurus. So really excited to talk about this guy. Though I think the name should be swapped, and I'll explain why. But here we've got Parasaurus, kind of the land cosmetic. So he's a wonderful guy. This is not Baro, the wrong animal. Parasaurus. So these guys are really, really interesting. This is an extinct giant species of caiman, so related to your modern caimans, of course. Are really, really cool. So let's hide that UI. These guys lived in South America during the Miocene and lived in quite a long period of time. And they could be found around Brazil, the Peruvian Amazon, down into like the Orinoco and even northern Venezuela. So quite a wide range. Back at that time, there was this South America was almost like the Amazon River was a lot bigger, and there was almost like kind of like a huge tidal kind of weird river system that was really cool. And there has been some size estimates for these guys. So this is the largest species, though the other one's bigger in the thing. So that's why I think the name should be swapped. And also the species we'll get on about it. But the skull length of the largest type species of P. basinalensis is about 1,453 millimeters, or about 53.7 inches long, or basically 1.4 meters. And estimates have put these guys at about 10 meters long and weighing about 5 tons. And the older estimates made them much longer and much heavier. So older estimates have put them like up to 15 meters and up to 12 tons. But the most recent 2022 estimates a length between 7 and 9 meters, which is 25 to 30 feet, and a mass of 6.2 tons, which is pretty spot on, I think. And maybe on a little bit bigger one of 9 to 10 meters and 3 to 4 metric tons. So I would say that's pretty realistic range, especially considering its phylogeny and things like that. But really, really cool animals. So these guys were big crocodilians adapted for eating large prey. So these guys would have lived in a really interesting time. South America was completely isolated from a lot of other continents. So it had its really own weird group of fauna. So it had lots of really large xenarthrans and notoungulates. So animals kind of like Toxodon, kind of early-ish ground sloths potentially. All sorts of those kind of weird and wonderful animals, and big rodents like Joseph Sternbergia, which is a really, really huge, like giant capybara, but not. And they would have all been prey for this guy, which is really, really awesome. And it's proposed that these guys being large would have helped with the warmer environment, also helped them with food, things like that. But at the end of the day, it kind of went extinct because of its large size, because it would have basically had to use more energy to survive. And once those big animals and its kind of habitat disappeared, it disappeared with it. But really awesome about these guys, they estimated to have huge bite forces because their big jaws used for crushing big animals. Its bite force is estimated about 52,000 newtons, about 5 metric tons, and upwards of up to 7 metric tons, or 69,000 newtons. So that really shows they can put a lot of power behind their bites. So much more than T-Rex and things like that. So, in terms of its kind of teeth, there are some differences between the 3 different species. There's Mirandi, Brasiliensis, and I think the other one is called Nevalensis. But I'll get to those differences. This one's Brasiliensis, and there's some differences with the teeth and body anatomy, things like that. It was actually one of the largest crocodilians known as well, rivaling things like Sarcosuchus and things. But it also lived with other types of large crocodilians, such as Raffincosuchus, which kind of lived with it. And it has body proportions quite similar to Dinosaurus, even though Dinosaurus lived in the Cretaceous. It's kind of in the Miocene. And they're not that closely related, but still really, really interesting in that regard. And evidence suggests that these guys, very much like modern crocodilians, could do a death roll to kill their prey. And all their sense organs, as you can see, is on the top of their head to allow them to hide there in the water, just like modern caiman. So the diet of these guys would have very much been animals like Stupendemus, which is a giant extinct turtle, other crocodilians like Muranosuchus and Gyptosuchus, types of birds, lots of mammals, including sloths and big rodents that get up to about 700 kilograms, river dolphins, where they would have lived in kind of floodplains, lakes and rivers environments and things as well. All sorts of animals would have kind of shared their habitat and lived with them, especially that P. mirandi, which should be this guy. So P. mirandi is the species that should be here, I think, because it shows a lot more adaptations for standing on its legs, so it's a lot more weight oriented, so maybe a little bit more terrestrial than the other 2 species of Parasaurus. So that's why it should be the one walking around, in my opinion. But yeah, really, really awesome animal. This species, Mirandi, would have lived with like crocodilians and many all sorts of different mammals. And the other species that we're not mentioning here is Nevalensis, would have lived a lot with animals like Anthropotheres that look like giant tapirs with tusks. Their own weird group of South American mammals, which is so interesting. And they would have lived around the Miocene. And yeah, as I mentioned, they showed some adaptations. Mirander would have been the one walking around, so it should be the one here. There is not much variation between the teeth, but there is some. Parasaurus kind of had ones that are slightly backwards, and then they would have been adapted rather conical to be able to bite into prey, and very much conical so they could handle the stresses of such a strong bite, and serrated to bite into prey as well and break into bone and things like that. So yeah, really, really cool animal. And to top it off as well, not only do we have this land cosmetic, we do have 2 new skins for this guy. This is the Generation 1, so this looks very much like a saltwater crocodile, and definitely a big fan of that. Definitely love this guy. Really, really cool. And we're going to have a look at the other one soon. So here is going to be the next one. I'll let you run off and do your thing. This is the other skin and the other species. This is why I think they should be swapped. Mirandi should be the walking ones, to show the adaptations to walking. And this is Miranderi or Braziliensis, which was the largest species known. Was known for the bigger skull and things like that. So let's have a look at Parasaurus Braziliensis. Let's see if we can get you in a nice pose. Oh, I don't want you to do that. Let's have a look at you like that. You look nice like that. So you can see here, this is the biggest species, of course, and it's very similar to how it originally came out, of course. It would have just come out as a lagoon animal, and it swims around based on the Mosasaur. But you can see the skin here. This skin is actually a little bit more unrealistic, but I think it's cool that they added this one. So this is the Generation 2 skin. So this skin is based a lot on like a juvenile American alligator, and if you looked at a baby American alligator, they've got very much cool patterns on them. It looks really, really cool. I do like it less than the kind of other one, but I think it's cool to give variety and nice things like that, and good old Braziliensis. So really does fit this animal. I'm definitely a big fan. So we can have a look at both of those versions now. We can let you swim off and do your thing. Hopefully you don't interfere with our next animal coming up. So next up, we have got, this is by Nanolazensis. We've got a couple of Mosasaurs that come from Prehistoric Planet. They're kind of remasters, but also remastered to look like those animals from Prehistoric Planet. So let's have a look at the Mosasaur. So here's a nice little look at this guy over here, since he's standing up like that. So this is Mosasaurus. You can see some of the major changes. This is based, of course, Mosasaurus hoffmanni, which is Hoffman's mosasaur, as it's referred to in Prehistoric Planet. You can see it's got those breeding colors, with the red head and things like that. It looks really, really nice. So we can see some changes here. The most obvious ones to look more like the show, because the show's one's actually pretty accurate. There are some minor inaccuracies with the show Mosasaur, but overall it is pretty good. So we can see it's got much more of a rounder shape to it, much more like a rounder animal, not like serpentine, very much rounder than the Jurassic Park one. Got a much bulkier head with some big lips and all that, and very smooth skin, as you can see here. None of those big weird osteoderms. Also, like much rounder body, probably more well adapted for swimming fast. Also, these big flippers that make it look much more realistic. And the biggest change you can kind of see here, the shorter tail, but also it's got a tail fluke. So I'll get into this with Platycarpus because that's the great example. But we know now that mosasaurs, they were originally reconstructed with eel-like tails, but now we know they had a tail fluke very similar to like sharks and whales and ichthyosaurs. So they would have had that come out like that and look like a fluke. So really, really awesome mod. Covers looks like just like the one from Prehistoric Planet. You can see with the breeding colors there. I do love the designs of Prehistoric Planet. Prehistoric Planet has got to be like one of my favorites, if not the favorite dinosaur documentary. I just love everything about it. Probably even more than Walk with the Dinosaurs. Yeah, that's really, really cool. We're going to let you swim off and do your thing. And this one, I forgot to cover the skin. So to get the skin, if you guys are curious, the one that looks like the one from the show, you have got Yukon River and Rana, so that's the one that you need, the cosmetics you need. And the other one, we'll get into this. This is how you get the other species of mosasaur that was quite prevalent in the first season. We've got KaiuHuani. So you can see this one looks much more like Kai from the show, with kind of the darker body and the light stripes down the back. So Kai, these guys are an extinct genus of mosasaur that lived during the late Cretaceous, right at the end of the late Cretaceous, from Antarctica. And the only species known is KaiuHuani, which was described in 2016, based off Seymour Island on Antarctica Peninsula. And early observations have shown that these guys were probably more related to Tylosaurs, so things like Tylosaurus and things like that. But some characteristics show that they may actually might be a true observation. So we don't really know exactly where it places in the tree. Could be a little bit more mosasaurian. We don't really know. But reconstructions of this guy show that these guys, the skull length of the specimen is about 1.1 to 1.2 meters. So that shows that a maximum size for these guys could be about 10 meters long, which is actually the largest mosasaur identified in the southern hemisphere, as well as one of the largest tylosaurians to date, even though it might not be a tylosaur. So what's really interesting about this guy, as I mentioned, the size, anatomy's not too different, but it's kind of classifications kind of all over the place, as I mentioned, because it could be a Tylosaur, but it could be a little bit older than that. Some people mostly agree with Tylosaur at the moment, but it's debated. But what's really interesting is that it lived in a cool area, even back in the prehistory. Antarctica was at the bottom of the world and was quite cool. There would have been like glaciers and things like that down the bottom there, so these guys would have had to be quite warm-blooded to survive that, and we know that they did. So, we know what they were. So these guys, the remains of them be found in like silt and sandstones, and it would have been the ancient sea with all sorts of different crustaceans and things like that. And there have been other things that have been found in there, like Proctothogon and Globidens believed to be found down there, and many other animals such as Elasmosaur and Plesiosaurs and things like that. The big ones that were filter feeders like Montanura and Atricinestes, you say that. So really, really cool animals. Some large animite fossils found as well. So the temperatures down at this time, back in the Cretaceous, the temperature of the water would have been about 6 degrees on average, and it may have actually dropped below freezing quite often and actually caused quite sea ice to form. So it was quite cool. So basically these guys needed to have some sort of way to keep warm, so they were most likely endothermic or warm-blooded to be able to control their body temperature and survive in these areas. So yeah, really, really awesome, and it shows that expands our kind of understanding of mosasaurs and how they lived in the world and how they pretty much took over the world and the oceans in like 30 million years. They had a very quick turnaround in terms of evolution. So next up, we have got another little mosasaur. So this one, obviously the Kai and things was done by Nanolanensis, and this one's done by Husquash Tree. Just kind of a remake of is one that was kind of bugged out before, but he remade it. So let's have a look at this guy. Look at these cute little guys. Let's see if we can get one. There's one over here that looks nice. I like the colors on you. We'll have a look at you. So this is Pliosaurus. Oh, damn it. Lost my position again. It's because I pressed C instead of G. Okay, there we are. So this is Pliosaurus. So Pliosaurus is an extinct genus of mosasaur, obviously, as I mentioned before. They're in their own group, like the Plioplatycarpines. So these guys lived around the early companion of the late Cretaceous, or Minnesotonian, so between 84 and 81 billion years ago. And there have been specimens mostly found in the United States, but they have been found in Belgium and Africa. So these guys have kind of that short snout, and they got to about 5 to 6 meters long, which is like mid-size for a mosasaur. And they would have evolved into the Plioplatycarpine group by the end of the Cretaceous. So you can see their skull is actually quite unique among mosasaurs. They have quite a short skull and fewer teeth than any mosasaur, and they had potentially quite a big eye as well. And because we have one particularly so well preserved fossil, we have one preserved with like organs inside and also with skin, so we know pretty much what mosasaur skin looks like. And that's how we know that they had their big fin at the back of the tail, the big lobe, the big fluke. So that's how we know that. And there are a lot of cartilage, so they had 2 functional lungs, so very much similar more to lizards and monitor lizards rather than snakes, because snakes only have 1 functional lung. So these guys would have had 2 functional lungs and would have been able to do that. Much more similar to lizards in that part of the anatomy. As I mentioned, there was the skin impressions, so we know that they have scales quite similar to most other squamates and archosaurs that were rhomboidal in shape, so very much like a rhomboid, and were small across the body, so they gave actually quite a smooth appearance to them. We know that they have their organs. We also see them preserved with fish, and we've seen like in the specimen tissue even kidney things like that. And actually would have had their kidneys like more back than the kidneys of mosasaurs. I mean lizards are monitor lizards, so that's quite interesting. And actually would have been more similar to things like cetaceans in some respect, as they share a similar ecology, which is a great example of convergent evolution. And we know these guys would have been eating a lot of fish and things like that. We have globidens, which is a relative eating like bivalves, but these guys have been preserved eating fish and ammonites and things like that, which is really, really interesting. And as a species, very complicated taxonomic history. They were often regarded the most common genus in the Western Interior Seaway in Kansas. However, they think it's paraphyletic, so they think there's many different species that are platycarpus that shouldn't be in platycarpus and be their own thing. So they've been splitting them pretty much ever since. So platycarpus is in a group called the Plioplatycarpines, which is a group of like small mosasaurs. They eventually got a little bit more specialized and was kind of that mid-predator niche in that ecosystem. And in terms of their diet, as we mentioned, they had much more robust teeth, so they most likely fed on much less robust teeth. So they would have been feeding on probably softer prey, such as small fish and squid. And they would have been swimming around very much similar to most other mosasaurs. So they would have been moving kind of like a hydrodynamic and very much able, adapted to swim. And probably a little bit more turgiform, so really only using their tail to swim. But yeah, really, really awesome animal. Really do love the platycarpus. And there's another cosmetic for this mod I didn't use because it's less accurate. It puts a big dorsal fin on the back and gives it weird colors like a tiger shark and things like that. And that's cool and all. If you want to download that, be my guest. But this is for accuracy. I picked this one because we don't have much evidence for dorsal fins in mosasaurs, because usually that shows evidence on the spine, but we don't see that evidence. So yeah, it's very unlikely that these guys had big dorsal fins. But still, if you guys want to have a dorsal fin mosasaur, that's your prerogative. You can do what you like. I am not the boss of you. So yeah, we're gonna let them swim off. So next up, so this is done by Hashwatri. Next up, we've got by MJ or Mju, if you say that, who's done a lot of really cool aquatic mods. We have got Pliosaurus. He's a really cool guy. So let's see you swim off there. I love the colors on this one. I love like the darker colors because it's probably more accurate. Let's see if we can get you. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's look at you there. So this is Pliosaurus. So Pliosaurus means more lizard, so you're going to get more for your lizard. These guys are a type of pliosaur that come from the late Jurassic of Europe and South America. And very much similar to other big pliosaurs that would have eaten smaller marine reptiles, fish, and cephalopods. And they have a complicated taxonomic history because there's believed to be as many as 6 species found of this species, of Pliosaurus. But some, whether they're valid or different genuses, is kind of neither here nor there. So I'm not going to go too much into the really different species. But there's about 6. I'll go through the names. There's Carperi, Bacchydendrus, Funky, KaiuHuani, Rossicus, and Whisperiensis, so if you say that. They're all kind of different sizes, but if you know P. Funky, that's big old Predator X. So I'll go over some of the sizes there. So, like Liliprodon, there's been some large specimens that have been suggested to get over like 15 meters long, but mostly the most recent estimates put them as 10 to 12 meters. So Pliosaurus funky, or Predator X as it was known, is the largest pliosaurid species known, and got to about 10 to 12 meters, or about 33 to 39 feet, and was named as Pliosaurus funky. And it had a skull length of about 1.6 to 2 meters, which is quite huge, and a skull length of about 2.2 to 5 meters for another specimen that shows they actually had proportionally bigger flippers compared to other pliosaurs of their same size. So they had much bigger flippers than a lot of the pliosaurs, which is quite interesting. Probably helped compensate for their bigger size for swimming. Other species such as P. carperi and Rosicus were like about 8. Carperi was about 8 meters long and weighed about 5 tons, while Rossicus was about 10 meters and weighed 11 tons. So there's kind of a size gradient. There's your big P. funky, and the smallest ones is the Carpenteri. So it's kind of a bit of size range there. And analysis from bones of the foreflippers showed that they use their foreflippers to kind of swim normally. but when they wanted extra speed or kind of move around while pursuing prey, they used their back flippers. And they actually, brain was kind of similar in shape and size to a great white shark, which are pretty intelligent animals, because sharks are cool. And in 2014, they actually calculated the sizes of these guys, and they had between 9,000 and 16,000 newtons, so a bite force between one to nearly 2 tons. So not as strong as all the animals, but probably still quite a nasty bite. Kill pretty big animals with it, smaller marine reptiles and things like that. So yeah, really, really interesting animals. So I can love Pliosaurus. But P Funky is very interesting. Since this one, I assume, is P Funky, it's most likely I'm going to talk about P Funky. So P Funky is the one everyone refers to as Predator X, everyone's favorite one. Predator X was found in Norway, and was, as I mentioned, found in Norway, and it's been found in a member that shows a lot of other species of like marine reptiles, like plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs, so they might would have been their prey. And the skull is mentioned about 2 to 2.5 meters long, which makes it one of the largest, and that's how it earned its nickname. And yeah, really, really cool animal. And it was actually featured as Predator X back in 2011 in Planet Dinosaur, and was shown to be hunting a smaller plesiosaur, which is Kimmerosaurus. But based on the damages of one skull of Kimmerosaurus, certainly these guys would have been attacked by larger pliosaurs like P. Funky. So very much a top predator in the ecosystem. It looks really, really nice. And I love these dark colors. They very much fit the traditional counter shading of these guys. And how can you not enjoy a little bit of fun pattern as well? So yeah, so Mishu did a wonderful job. Love these guys. And now we're going to be moving off from the lagoon, hopefully. I was going to say, hopefully, don't have technical issues. So, next up, we've got a couple Master Doot mods. How can you not love Master Doot? So, next up, we've got a sauropod. I know we haven't had a sauropod in a while, but I always do love showing off some sauropods. So, let's have a look at Tyrannosaurus. So, really, really cool animal. So here it is. This is Tyrannosaurus. Let me just get them a little bit more separated from each other so we can get a good look. This is Tyrannosaurus. Really, really interesting animal. So Tyrannosaurus, which means Tyranno lizard. These guys are a genus of sauropod that comes from Spain. And the single fossil specimen is known as Tyrannosaurus aureodavensis from the Kimmeridgian Velde Acebeso formation in Teruel, Spain. And this guy has got a very interesting claim to fame for two reasons. So we'll talk about. It's actually believed to be the largest dinosaur ever found in Europe, and is among one of the largest dinosaurs known. So it's originally estimated to be about 30 meters long, or even potentially like 36 to 39 meters long, and about 40 to 48 tons. Though more recent estimates put it between 21 to 30 meters, or 69 to 98 feet long, and about 30 to 50 tons, which still puts it up there with some of the biggest dinosaurs, like up there with like Brachiosaurus and some of the larger titanosaurs, and really, really big. And has a skull of about 70 centimeters, which is not that large. Though I believe that larger head might have caused it to break its neck, though we don't know about that. But these guys are in their own kind of group of weird sauropods called Tyrannosauria, which they get their name from this. So they have their own kind of group in the Neosauropod group, where the kind of group of weird European, and I believe there's actually one from America now. So there's a weird group of like Tunisian sauropods that kind of did their own thing and kind of spread across the world and lived with Luisasaurus and Cavellosaurus. So in terms of this guy itself, it's fragmentary, but has been known from skull fragments, a leg, articulated left front limb, ribs, vertebrae, and teeth that have been found there. And a forelimb was found in Portugal that was originally basically this guy, is now now kind of given to the species ZBY Atlanticensis, I believe you say that. And the species were given in 2006. And the early 2010s, makes each dreader cover the most complete fossilized creatures in the whole world. So really, really cool animal. And I think it's really cool, not just because it's a big animal from Europe. It really shows its own weird group of titanosaurs, not titanosaurs, sauropods, that all got really, really big on their own. Because you think the big ones are like the Macadarians, the Diplodocids, and the titanosaurs. But these guys were kind of their own weird group that just kind of came up and did their own thing. So, and they're not many of them. I believe Tyrannosaurus, let me grab different species. There's kind of Moabasauria, which is from America, I think. Well, yeah, it is from Moab Desert to America. But they're all kind of from different parts of the world, mainly from Europe, but there is some from like Africa and North America as well, like Moabasaurus. But yeah, really interesting group, and we don't know much about them, so that's one kind of adds to their kind of cool status. And you can see, obviously, the legs, feet are wrong, as I keep mentioning, but overall, I really, really love this animal. It's nice to see a sauropod, especially a weird sauropod like Tyrannosaurus. Very happy got to see these guys. And, of course, we've got to let them walk off and do their thing. We'll just appreciate them for a moment. I don't want to get them spooked off or let them do their thing. Okay, so next up, that was by Master Doot. This next one's also done by Master Doot. So we've got a very interesting dinosaur next. So this is Barosaurus. So let's have a look at you guys. Don't do that to me, please. Oh, there we are. Man, this game's just been buggy for me today. But anyway, let's have a look at you, since you're the nicely posed one. So this is Barosaurus, which is Baharana lizard. These guys are in a weird genus. Their history is very complicated. These guys are a large theropod dinosaur named from at least one species, named Baharanosaurus ingens, which is found in North African rocks during the Cenomanian Tenorian ages of the late Cretaceous, so about like the mid-Cretaceous. They've only been found from that formation in Egypt, and the holotype was destroyed along with these holotype of Egyptosaurus and Spinosaurus back in World War II when they raided the German museum. And these came believed to become from... There have been more fossils assigned to this genus from Niger, but it's kind of hard to tell without the holotype. But this guy has been estimated to be up there with some of the biggest theropods, up to the height and length of very big animals like Tyrannosaurus rex, and another animal lived with Kakara, getting up to about 11 to 12 meters, or about 36 to 39 meters, 39 feet in length, and weigh about 4 tons. So up there with the big boys. So as I mentioned, found in 1910 by Stromer, who did a big expedition about the 1930s, and was destroyed in 1944. It's very sad. The question remains for Barosaurus, kind of had a centrum and a couple other smaller bones. We really don't know much about it, but we know it was quite big. So the type specimen was only known for postcrania, and the 2 centrums were very, very big and tall, and the last cycle suggests there was no greater fusion of the vertebrae, so probably pretty interesting in that regard. So its taxonomic place has been kind of really debated because it's only known from a lot of things, but it's been put in groups such as Kakara and Tyrannosauridae, but also put into things like Deltadromeus is thought to be synonymous with Baharanosaurus, and Deltadromeus is kind of a smaller ceratosaur. And if that is correct, it would represent one of the largest examples of a ceratosaur. If Deltadromeus is a ceratosaur, or more specifically, it's a noasaurid, so related things like Mosasaurus and things like that. So it would have been a very large example of this animal, so at 11-meter long Mosasaurus, pretty much. And it's thought to be Deltadromeus, but there have been some redescriptions. It suggests that this guy may have been found to map along with Megaraptorids, so it could be like an African Megaraptorid, and though it may have been a little bit different from these guys, and would have clade along with Guanicho and Aeoraptor, things like that. So it may have been something like that. In a most recent one, they actually suggest that Deltadromeus may be a juvenile species of Baharanosaurus, but their relations in return. But then in 2020 referred to these guys belonging to Deltadromeus and leaving Baharanosaurus a nomen dubium. Because we don't have a holotype, it's really no point in having it. And so it's basically just considered a really large Deltadromeus. But in terms of its paleobiology, these guys are one of the 4 giant theropods living in the Baharana Formation. So it would have lived with animals such as Kakara, the big Kakara, and the Spinosaurid, both Mosasaurus, and Spinosaurus. The validity, of course, of Mosasaurus is a bit here or there. But so many big carnivores is believed to be niche petitioning. You have today so many ecosystems that have so many big predators. There would have been niche petitioning within them to avoid competition, so avoiding each other, either due by habitat, feeding on different things. Because it's a big area, you can have multiple animals, a big area. But yeah, really, really cool. Love this mod. As you can see, this is based on the giant Noasaurid interpretation, which is quite interesting to say the least. Big Noasaurid. I really love the show like that, almost like the Mashikasaurus jaws, the beginnings of that. Really, really weird. A small head, because he's still such a large animal. Really, really awesome. Do love these guys. Really did come out wonderfully. So let you walk off and do your thing. Really, really awesome. And I bet these guys are panicking. Yeah, they are. But anyway, let's zoom out and end the video. So yeah, thank you for everyone making these mods. Really interesting collection. So yeah, I really, really, really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. Always remember to click the little bell icon to get notified about anything. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And bye-bye.